Howdy hi, thrill seekers. I'm getting married on June 26th, so by the time you watch this, I'll be on my way to Las Vegas to see my nephew, and it's not really a bachelor party as such, but we're just going to hang out for a few days in Las Vegas. That's where he lives. What was that noise? Anyway, I'm not going to worry about what that noise was. So, on the last episode's comment section, somebody asked me to talk about Prajna, so I'm going to talk about Prajna. So for a definition of Prajna, let's turn to Shambhala's Dictionary of Buddhism, and Zen. And here is their definition of Prajna. It says, Sanskrit, literally consciousness or wisdom. Pali, panya, I guess. Japanese hanya, as in hanya haramita. Wisdom, a central notion of the Mahayana referring to an immediately experienced intuitive wisdom that cannot be conveyed by concepts or in intellectual terms. The definitive moment of prajna is insight into emptiness, aka shunyata, which is the true nature of reality. The realization of prajna is often equated with the attainment of enlightenment and is one of the essential marks of Buddhahood. Prajna is also one of the perfections, as paramitas, which you may know, the Hanya Haramita Shingyo, the Prajna Paramita Sutra, the Great Heart of Wisdom Sutra. We've talked about that a lot here. Actualized, it's one of the paramitas actualized by a bodhisattva in the course of his development, or bhumi. So that's what they say about it. One of the most interesting places to look at if you want to get Dogen's take on what is Prajna is a little chapter that appears in Book 1 of the Nishijima Cross version of Shobogenzo, and appears probably, in every version of Shobogenzo. There's a bookmark falling out. It is called Kokyo, the Eternal Mirror, Kokyo. Now, Kokyo is a long chapter, and I did a paraphrase of it in my book. It came from Beyond Zen. Don't Be a Jerk. It comes in Don't Be a Jerk. And luckily for me, I don't know if I mentioned this in the book itself, but I took lots of notes while Nishijima Roshi was talking. You can see them written in the margin in this little tiny handwriting. I still take notes sometimes in books in little tiny handwriting, but this is when I was younger and my eyesight was better, and the handwriting is too tiny for me to even read sometimes. I have to go, what the hell did I write there? But that's what I did, so I'm sure I referred to these notes when I was doing that paraphrase for It Came From Beyond. Why I keep saying it came from Beyond Zen? Don't Be a Jerk. So when I did the paraphrase for Don't Be a Jerk, I'm sure I depended a lot on these notes. Now, the chapter is one of his long chapters, so I'm not even going to attempt to read it to you on a video, because it would make an enormously long video, and I don't know if we're ready for 3-hour videos here yet. But I am going to read you Nishijima Roshi's introduction to this, because he talks in his introduction about his concept of what this idea of prajna means. So he first explains the title of the chapter. Ko means ancient or eternal, and kyo means mirror. So kokyo means the eternal mirror. And what the eternal mirror means is the question. In this chapter, Master Dogen quoted Master Seppo Gisan's words, when a foreigner comes in front of the mirror reflects the foreigner. And the foreigner in question, whenever it comes up in old Buddhist texts, when they talk about a foreigner, they're usually referring to Bodhidharma, and they're usually kind of giving the foreigner as Bodhidharma is supposed to be a supremely enlightened dude who started the Zen thing rolling in China. So a foreigner is not a disparaging comment for the person. It's kind of elevating the person, but in this case it's just whoever comes is whoever is reflected. From these words we can understand the eternal mirror as a symbol of some human mental faculty. The eternal mirror suggests the importance of reflection, so we can suppose that the eternal mirror is a symbol of the intuitional faculty. In Buddhist philosophy, the intuition is called prajna, or real wisdom. Real wisdom in Buddhism means our human intuitional faculty on which all our decisions are based. Buddhism esteems this real wisdom more than reason or sense perception. So sense perception is what we see, hear, feel, smell, taste, etc. And reason is what we think about those things that we see, feel, hear, smell, taste. So for most people, all we got is sense perception and reason. That's the entirety of human philosophy. Well, most of it is based on sense perception and then reason regarding sense perception. But what we're talking about here in Prajna is something that doesn't deal with sense perception or reason. Our real wisdom is the basis for our decisions, and our decisions decide our life, so we can say that our real wisdom decides the course of our life. For this reason, it is very natural for Master Dogen to explain the eternal mirror. At the same time, we must find another meaning of the eternal mirror, because Master Dogen also quoted other words of Master Seppo Gisan. Every monkey has the eternal mirror on its back. That's part of this chapter. Therefore, we can think that the eternal mirror means not only human real wisdom, but also some intuitional faculty of animals. So we must widen the meaning of the eternal mirror and understand it as a symbol of the intuitional faculty which both human beings and animals have. So interesting. So Prajna is possessed by animals as well. Furthermore, Master Seppo Gisan said, when the world is 10 feet wide, the eternal mirror is 10 feet wide. When the world is 1 foot wide, the eternal mirror is 1 foot wide. These words suggest the eternal mirror is the world itself, is the universe itself. So we can say that the eternal mirror is not only a symbol of an individual faculty, but is also something universal. From ancient times, Buddhists have discussed the eternal mirror. In this chapter, Master Dogen explains the meaning of the eternal mirror in Buddhism, quoting the words of ancient Buddhist masters. So I hope that wasn't just weird and confusing. If you read the whole chapter is weird and confusing. Well, it's very long, and it's got a lot of stuff happening in it, and it gets pretty crazy near the end when it talks about apes having mirrors on their backs and all kinds of stuff, and you're just kind of going, what the hell are you talking about? But I'm going to try to make it a little easier and just kind of explain what it means to me. So Prajna is, as I understand it from my limited ability with Sanskrit, I just get a couple of words here and there. The jñā part is jnana, which means wisdom, and it comes up in Buddhist philosophy, it comes up in Advaita Vedanta philosophy a lot. A jñāni is their word for a kind of a master, a person who has total knowledge. So jnana is wisdom, and jnani is a person who's possessed of great wisdom. The pra is very much related to pre in English. So English and Sanskrit are somewhat distantly related. So a couple of things are analogous, and the pra is pre-wisdom. So it's before wisdom. But that doesn't mean, as you may tend to kind of think, or at least as I sort of thought when I first heard that definition of it, as precognition, like seeing into the future or something like that. No, it's something that's before wisdom, before knowledge, before understanding, is prajna. So it's a kind of intuitive wisdom, and as Nishijima Roshi says in his introduction, it's the thing upon which all of our decisions are based. That is one of the things that I had the hardest time with when I would listen to Nishijima Roshi talking. When I was sitting there as a little pipsqueak guy in the classes that he taught, trying to follow along as best I could, making the notes that I showed you in that book. Hi, Ziggy. Ziggy's sitting right by me. Not barking like he was before, but he's just hanging right next to me, which is kind of nice, but kind of weird because he doesn't do that all the time. He usually goes somewhere else. Anyway, what was I saying? So even Ziggy right here, who you can't see, but I'll try and show him to you later, he has prajna, he has wisdom. Hello, Ziggy. He has this intuitive wisdom that all animals possess, and we as animals also possess. But this thing about the decisions is I feel like I'm a kind of an indecisive guy, which is probably not entirely true in sort of general terms compared to other people, but I always get frustrated about my own sort of indecisiveness. So when I would hear this idea that there is a decision-making faculty within me that makes a decision immediately, and then I just come in and mess it up. That bothered me. But as I came to work with this practice, I came to see it more and more, that there is this sort of faculty that we all possess that knows what to do, that always knows exactly what needs to be done in any situation. And that's a kind of a tough one for a lot of us to swallow. And I feel for you. I have total sympathy for you if you're one of the people that doesn't believe that. Because I didn't believe that. When as I say, I had trouble with that. But one of the effects of Zazen practice is to make one less interested in the contents of one's own brain. So it's made me less interested in the contents of my own brain, because when I have stepped back and kind of just watched it while sitting Zazen, I realize that my brain is all full of dumb ideas, and they're very repetitive. There's a lot of just rolling over the same things over and over and over again going on. And that when I try to see who is generating all the thoughts that come up, I realize that there is nobody generating all the thoughts. There's this sort of idea, I think, that we all sort of have to one extent or another, that there's a me inside of me who's generating thoughts. So the thoughts are kind of made by me. So I'm thinking what I want to think. But I've realized as I've gone along through life and through this journey of Zazen, that I'm not thinking what I want to think. Usually I'm thinking what I don't want to think. Often I'm thinking what I don't want to think. And I don't seem to have any control over what comes up in my mind. It just bubbles up like it wants to anyway. Beyond that, there is another sort of faculty of mind that exists, which I think is what the word prajna is pointing to. It's pointing to this faculty that knows what to do and what's going on instantly. And the reason that this metaphor of the mirror, the kokyo, the eternal mirror, or the ancient mirror, comes up is because the idea is it's beyond you. It's beyond what I think of as me, as an individual, but it's something eternal, and as a mirror, it just reflects. It just reflects what's in front of it. So whatever's in front of it gets reflected clearly, and that leads to a knowledge of what to do about what is reflected clearly in front of me. The problem that most of us have is that we aren't really looking at that mirror. Now, there's another metaphor which I mentioned in the previous episode of this video blog, which Dogen kind of looks askance at, which is the idea of sweeping and polishing the mirror to keep it clean. This comes up in the Platform Sutra, and it's the thing that Huineng beats, what's the other guy's name? Shiso or something, I forget the other guy's name, by saying there is no dust and there is no mirror. So, yeah, that's true, but there's a dust and there's a mirror. So there is this sense that we tend to cover up our own intuitive wisdom with a lot of thoughts and things. So we're so used to kind of looking toward our thought process as the way to figure out what to do, that before we allow the immediate sort of intuitive wisdom to come forth and look at what's actually in front of us, we're already thinking about it and making a plan and coming up with a thing and whatever. And so we mess it all up. But if you practice this Prajna Paramita, practicing Prajna Paramita is a synonym. It's not synonym, it's not the word. It's a metaphor for doing zazen. I don't know if a metaphor is a synonym. It's something. It's cinnamon. It's a cinnamon for doing zazen. And doing zazen practice allows you to see more of this intuitive wisdom. People, when they ask me to talk about prajna, they might, I don't know, imagine that I have some magical formula for making prajna happen, making intuitive wisdom happen. But I don't. I don't, and I am working on it myself, and I've been working on it for all these years, looking at it And it feels to me like the intuitive wisdom is the wisdom that is not colored by emotions and not colored by any sense of what I want. So if I am faced with a decision to make and it seems very difficult for me to make that decision, I try to look at the option that isn't colored by any sense of what I want or my emotional feeling toward it or anything like that. You know, I'm not trying to be Mr. Spock about it, but I'm trying to see it clearly as it is. And that, to me, is the intuitive, wise choice. And the other choices that come up are all like what I want or what advantage it can get me, or some. You often do this, or I often do this, where if you think of yourself as a good person, you know, you're trying to go like, what is best for the world, you know, and often that what is best for the world is just like what'll make me look good in the eyes of the world, or what is best for the world in terms of what I've already decided is best for the world, which is often not what's best for the world. This is where the whole, you know, I don't know, a lot of do-goody movements, I think, go way wrong because they're based on a fixed notion of what is good for the world, and don't have the sense to see that maybe what they think is good for the world might not be what's good for the world. Nobody wants to question themselves about that, and that can be a problem in those kind of things. So it's not even colored about with what you think is good for the world. It's got nothing of that. It's absolutely silent, and it kind of comes forth very clearly and very instantaneously, and that's what prajna is. Did I explain anything at all? I don't think I did, but I tried, so at least you got to give me points for trying. Anyway, if you want to donate to me trying more times to talk about prajna and other things, you can donate to the URL you're seeing below on the screen. That is my only way of making a living right now, so I really appreciate any support you can give me, and thank you very much for that. But if you're having financial trouble or something, don't bother with trying to donate to me, because I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there, but I'm hanging in there because people do keep donating. So I thank you a lot for that. And this is why you don't see advertisements on mine. You don't have to click, you know, those little 5 seconds to the ad, and then you get a little ad for Dr. Favini of Forward Medical thing. You don't get those on mine. So thank you for sitting through this, and appreciate you, and see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. How you doing, Ziggy? Hey, Ziggy. What's up, buddy? You having a good time under the desk? I guess that's... Oh, now you see something different. Okay, see you later.